Hey, what's up guys, Aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 22 today for the finale of Season 1 at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But Abu Dhabi Yas Marina, the final race of this season, and it's going to be a very exciting one to see how it concludes, because we do have a Drivers' Championship fight between Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel, and Ferrari and Mercedes. And of course, for us, we just want to finish off this season quite strong. We've got an engine upgrade that's come in, a major one, so that should be quite useful as well. Down those long back straights, you know, Abu Dhabi, a bit of a compromising circuit because you want some downforce for the last sector, but also, you know, want some obviously efficiency on the straights to try and make some overtakes. But this is how the R&D chart looks then at the very end of this season here. We're behind Renault and Williams there in pretty much middle of the pack. I say would be middle of the pack, but now the patch has come in 1.05. Now, I wanted to try and wait until after Season 1 had ended to install the patch, but Steam made me, you know, forced me to basically download the patch, so I had no say in the matter. So right now on screen you can see the subtle transition from pre-patch to post-patch now, and so post-patch now, going into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we are now the 4th best team on the grid ahead of Williams. Renault took a massive hit, so they were 5th best now, and now they're last place on the R&D chart on paper, which is a massive shame for them, but obviously it's going to help us out in our fight, I guess, in today's race. But I'm sure Williams will still be strong. That just shows how much Williams on their own, how much they've really upgraded this season. The fact that the patch that really did nerf them quite a fair bit on the things like the chassis and the aero really haven't taken much of an effect on them, and they're actually quite close to us really still on the R&D chart there. Ourselves and Williams have also got closer to Red Bull a little bit there. You can see Mercedes has streaked ahead a little bit because Mercedes got a little bit of a bump compared to Ferrari, and Ferrari did get a little bit nerfed, so that might be a bit of a harder challenge for Sebastian Vettel to try and win the championship this afternoon if he's going up against Valtteri Bottas in a much improved Mercedes car. Then you've got the likes of McLaren and Toro Rosso. They've gone up the order, and Haas are now the 2nd worst team on the grid. So that's how things look going into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix post-patch, and obviously that will now be the baseline for when we go into Season 2 in terms of this R&D regulation of the aero. We'll see how that affects things, and, you know, how that will shake things up for the pecking order going into the Australian Grand Prix for the next season. But that's enough of talk of R&D and all the stats. So let's just get into this then and see how we go out on track on Saturday. Let's go to qualifying.
Here we are at the beautiful Yas Island circuit, where qualifying is about to begin. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the action. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
Lots of low-speed exits means the rears are in for a lot of punishment. It's all too easy to spin them up coming out of a corner too aggressively. It might look great for us as spectators, as we love to see a car driven beyond its limits, but it's not going to result in a great long-run pace.
So here we are then in Q1, and of course, along with the patch changing the pecking order in the R&D chart for the AI teams, also the handling itself has changed just drastically for every single car. You know, in general, in the game now, the higher speed corners are feeling a lot better, and obviously I never drove Abu Dhabi basically pre-patch, but I could tell that even high speed, probably this, you know, some corners, especially in the first sector, you know, the fast left and then right as you go down the hill to Sector 1, definitely probably wouldn't have been flat out as it was the case there in Q1, and we do thankfully make it through into Q2 on only one set of tyres there. P14 just about made it through there. I was actually quite close, maybe about 1/10 away from being knocked out there, but thankfully we do, and that means we have 2 tyres to maybe use in Q3 if we can also make it through into the top 10 shootout on one set of soft tyres. Hopefully it can be the case. The car is feeling pretty good, nice and punchy on the front end with this new handling, and so we come through the last corner across the line. It's P2 at the moment there, of course early days, but eventually by the end of it we're P9 and Kimi Raikkonen is P8. So it looks like myself and Kimi quite well matched here around Abu Dhabi, so we'll see maybe if that's where our genuine pace is for the top 10 shootout there, P8 and P9, but I like to think maybe in the top 10 shootout we can find an extra gear, if you will, and try and find some more speed. But at the moment, that first sector on that first flying lap in Q3, not too great, scrubbed off a bit too much speed for my liking in that first sector and compromised some of my lines, and through to the last sector, the last few corners, a little bit of understeer kicking in now in the second last corner to the last. Don't know if that's maybe a case of, obviously it's now gone full night time, so maybe the temperatures have gone down a little bit across the line. At the moment, it's P6, which is not too bad, actually. We're still ahead of Raikkonen. It's actually still a very good job, but we can do more. We can find more time. You can see that in the brake zone alone, found about 2/10 there on the back straight. So carrying that forward now for the rest of the lap, hopefully. Valtteri Bottas, though, is on provisional pole position, where he wants to be, of course, for his title fight against Sebastian Vettel. For myself, we're just trying to see if we can do anything to maybe jump Verstappen up ahead of us as we go through the last few corners. Raikkonen has got ahead of me now. We're down to P8, so Kimi's improved. Can we improve? You can see on the bottom, on the top right, nearly half a second gain there on that second flying lap, and in the end, it catapults us up into P5, and that's actually a really fantastic lap from us there to get ahead of both Red Bull cars. Raikkonen is dealt a 5-place grid penalty there, and usually if it shows up like that, it means that he must have kind of maybe got in the way of someone or had some sort of incident in this actual Q3 session then to get that 5-place grid penalty actually applied right here on the screen there. So P9 for Kimi Raikkonen. I don't know if that means it's already been applied, so maybe he was ahead, or I think now it's 9 plus 5. We'll have to see. Of course, it's the end of the season. A lot of the times the AI like to take a lot of grid penalties right at the end of the season because they've been saving up basically to basically take it right at the end here if we kind of follow on for the pattern of F1 2017 and 18. And like I said, Valtteri Bottas was on provisional pole. He's now confirmed pole position there. Sebastian Vettel, though, alongside him on the front row, and there's such fine margins, actually, a lot closer than I thought it would be. So this might be a very close title fight right to the death on Sunday. But for us, unfortunately, that great P5 is going to be overshadowed by the fact that we do have penalties to take ourselves. Not engine penalties, because you can see here we can actually change components. I tactically used more worn out components in qualifying there, which kind of adds to the good performance we did in Q3. But we've got some fresh components for the race. But the thing I need to take a penalty on is the gearbox, which we have there's no cheat out on the gearbox. If you have to change it, you have to change it, and we have to break the seal and get a new one there. And unfortunately, I think we're only one race away from applying the rule of the gearboxes that you have to take them, I think, 6 races apiece. We've only done 5 here, so we have to break the seal, get a 5-place grid penalty for the gearbox change. So we'll be P10, I believe, unless obviously things change and we're moved up the order due to other people having penalties. We'll have to see, but like I said, I'm sure there will be a few others, so we're going to have to look at how the grid sequence goes. But let's just get into this then and go to the grids for the last race in Season 1.
Welcome to the Yas Island circuit for the finale of another thrilling Formula One season. It's been a breathtaking year, and we end it at a track that's been the scene of many glories and heartbreaks over its short history. It's time to end the season in style. It's time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The drivers will be racing here at the Yas Island circuit through 21 corners and a lap distance of around 3.4 miles. There are a few opportunities to pass, with long straights and DRS zones in 2 places, turns 8 and 11. Plenty of close racing then, plenty of speed, and plenty of drama to be found in the laps ahead. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Why don't we discuss Red Bull? They've had just 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and the engineer completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Russell, Devon Butler, and Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Leclerc, Sainz, Raikkonen, and Daniel Ricciardo. Norris, Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Magnussen, Albon, Weber, Romain Grosjean, and Lance Stroll, Hülkenberg, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Right, so somehow we're here on the grid and we find ourselves on the front row again alongside a Mercedes car for the second time in a row, Brazil to Abu Dhabi. I don't know how this has actually occurred. If we look back at the grid sequence there, a lot of people are having some penalties, but I'm not sure mine was correctly applied unless obviously there's that rule of, basically when you get penalties applied in a certain order, you push down the grid and then you kind of have to push it all back up, which is why in real life Hamilton actually had a penalty and then still somehow somehow ended up in 4th, not 5th or 6th or whatever it was the case. But I don't think that actually has occurred here, because I don't think there's enough penalties for me to be pushed up into P2, even with a 5-place grid penalty. So I think a little bit of a glitch has gone on there with my penalty being applied, whereas everyone else's has been applied correctly, or not correctly, because Kimi's also still in 9th place and not got 5 places down. So I don't know what's gone on. But either way, we're in 2nd place, which is rather interesting. Obviously, that makes this race maybe potentially even more fun for us, because we can once again fight at the front, maybe. But also for the championship's sake, Sebastian Vettel is down to P6 now, so that might make his job even harder. Strategy will be a 2-stop, soft tire to 2 sets of mediums. The tyre wear generally is kind of on the higher side at Abu Dhabi, and undercuts are quite powerful around here. But also, equally, traffic is a nightmare around here. Sector 2 and 3, especially 3, is horrendous to try and get past slower cars. So also at the same time, I need to think about that and maybe stretch some stints rather to get some clean air. We'll have to see, really. But let's just get into this then. Obviously, it's been a long old season then, and it's episode number 22, of course. It's round number 21, because we had that first episode with F2, but it's come down to this then, the final race of season 1 at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and it's a championship fight between Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel. But we're on the front row, and we're here to have some fun as we go to 5 red lights to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The final race of the season is underway. It's a great start for us, actually, compared to Valtteri Bottas, and we might be able to get into 1st place again of a Grand Prix to turn 1, and we're side by side. We go very aggressive, get the elbows out, and show who's boss, and we're up into P1 of this GP, and George Russell is up into 2nd place. There's an Alfa Romeo Racing car and a Williams car racing for P1 and P2 in this Grand Prix. Words that are definitely not meant to be coming out of my mouth, but they are. This is how you know maybe it's a video game, but it's absolutely amazing to see. Great stuff there. So Russell up into 2nd place, got down the inside of Bottas. Bottas down to P4. Hamilton has got him as well, so that kind of squeeze that I did, it was, pretty fair, I think, because I gave him some room right until the exit of the corner, to the edge of the track there, and he just kind of got a little bit rumbled, I think, Bottas did, and he's now down to P4, got flustered, and left the position to his teammate there, and I believe Sebastian Vettel is up into P5, so Bottas and Vettel are right now next to each other on track, fighting for P4 potentially, as Russell has some pressure on me for P1, which is still very, very odd to think about. A Williams car putting on pressure for the lead of the Grand Prix against an Alfa Romeo car, but there you go. We move on to lap number 2 though, and it's now a bit more calm and a bit more normal, I suspect, because Hamilton now is up into P2, Bottas P3, so the Williams car has been absolutely done, and so now it's Hamilton that will be the one that's pressurising me for P1. He's going to go to the right hand side, we go defensive to the inside as we enter sector 3. It's close stuff there on the right. We try and really squeeze him as much as we can, and is allowed, and we're just about going to maintain that P1, but he was fully alongside us there, so I thought for a second he was going to squeeze the throttle and force his way through down the inside, but thankfully we're still in one piece in P1, but he comes knocking again as we spark away down the main straight. Bottas not too far behind as well as Vettel, but there goes Hamilton. It's a late dive bomb from the Brit, and he's forced us really quite wide, nearly off circuit. I had to go to actually make that corner because it was such a late call from him, and I had to brake so late to actually try and match the stopping power that he had, and now it's compromised his line, it has, for Hamilton, and Bottas now is going to try and get up into 2nd place as we go onto a nose cam of Hamilton and Bottas. You might just see him there on the right hand side go through. There he is, a little bit of contact made, I think, between the 2 Mercedes cars, and Bottas is through though into 2nd place. Crucial maybe for his championship fight to maintain that lead. Of course, he's the one with the points lead, but obviously it'd be a lot more comfortable for him to be out in the front basically, and that's what he's going to try and do now. Around the outside he goes of me, but it's a massive lock up from Valtteri. That's a big mistake for him. We have to give him the room though, because he's somehow managed to still keep his nose in there, so cheeky stuff there from the Finn, and so he's up into the lead. But for how much longer as we get DRS off him? I'm going to make a rear overtaking move for 1st place, but here comes Vettel around the outside of Hamilton and Bottas, and maybe even myself. There he is, the red proximity arrow. He's down the inside, he's got his nose in there, he's made contact with me, he's pushed me off a little bit there, and he's basically just barged his way through. But it's Sebastian Vettel in a Ferrari car, so I can't complain too much there. Obviously we let him through a little bit easily at Brazil, and like the same thing here at Abu Dhabi. Of course, Alfa Romeo is technically the junior Ferrari team, so I can't kick up much of a fuss. He's forced his way through that much there, but it was very unexpected, let's just say. He made a triple overtake there. Let's just get that straight. He made a triple overtake for the race lead and potentially a position to get him the championship. That is absolutely balls of steel stuff there by Sebastian Vettel. But now I feel like the floodgates are opening. Hamilton now around the outside. We bang tyres to the right on lap number 5, but I'm just losing tyre grip now. These soft tyres starting to go off. Hamilton also is on the mediums, I should say. Vettel was on the softs, but Hamilton's on the mediums, so his tyres are definitely in better nick than mine. But for some reason, even though the percentage levels aren't too high on these soft tyres, you can now see I'm really starting to lose a lot of grip into the brake zone as well in Sector 3 there, and the right-hander locking up on the front right there, so the confidence is gone a little bit in these tyres. We're going to go for a very early pit stop, lap number 6, and actually my engineer suggested this early pit stop, so it wasn't even me making the call. The game itself thought I should probably come in this early, and I would agree because I was really struggling on those tyres, so we need this undercut on the medium tyres to really help us out and try and maintain at least that P3 against Bottas and just the other cars. You know, obviously I focus on Bottas because he's the car directly behind me, but really I'm just trying to stay ahead of everyone. The likes of Russell, my teammate even, who I think's made a pretty decent start actually. He's right up there in some good points around P6 or P7. So just trying to, you know, keep as high as I can in this race basically. So we move on to lap number 9 and we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix then. So you can see very much so I had no pace on the softs, whereas now I have a lot more pace on the mediums. And how could I forget Leclerc in the other Ferrari car? He's actually behind us right now. I completely forgot about the other Ferrari because I just didn't see him in this race so far. And so now we go down the inside of Pierre Gasly, do a bit of a Rosberg move there, pinch him into the first corner, and now we're going to try and get a better exit as we tighten up and do the switchback move effectively on the Frenchman to try and get up into P14. We're trying to follow along with Sebastian Vettel, who up ahead has just overtaken Hülkenberg there and has got down the inside just about. So myself and Vettel trying to navigate traffic, and this is exactly what I talked about here. You could get an undercut. The undercut is powerful around here, but it's only powerful if you can get past the traffic. And now Hülkenberg is making it very difficult for me to get past the traffic as he pushes me off as I try to go around the outside. I had the grip for it, but he just said, no, mate, you're not getting past. Shuts the door on me. And so we're going to have to try and go again. I mean, fair play. I rate the aggression there. Love to see it. And so now we're going to try and have to make a move down the hill, potentially right up the gearbox through the flat-out right-hander. Can we make a move on the outside? Hulkenberg leaves the door open. So here we go. Smooth as you want. Around the outside to the inside for the next right-hander. And we're up into P11. That's a very, very sweet move indeed. Hit the apex for the next corner as well, the hairpin, and get a good exit. And hopefully now try and chase after Sergio Perez. And in this patch, the Renault has been done absolutely dirty on the engine power and the drag, I suspect, as well. And so we're going to gain on him very rapidly. You can see how far ahead of he was, and now we're basically right up his gearbox. We have a little look down the inside, just let him know we're in the mirrors there. And now we're going to size up this move on this second straight as we get the power down as early as we dare on hot lap mode, then overtake mode. DRS going to be opened up. We're not going to use the rich mix though because we don't have too much fuel to play around with, so we'll stay standard mixture, but we're not going to need it. We're going to be able to go down the inside of the Mexican here and get up the order, and now get some free air to chase off that Tauros of Alexander Albon, and we'll be getting him very, very soon as well as we move into lap 11 around the outside. But Albon puts up a very good fight, to be fair, in that Toro Rosso car of his, but we're up into P6 eventually. Vettel P5, but surprisingly, I think the likes of Bottas are still going on. Of course, we know Hamilton, he started on a medium, so he's going a lot longer in this Grand Prix. But we move on to lap number 12, and only now was Max Verstappen coming in from his soft tyres, and still on lap 12 onwards, Bottas is still on that first set of soft tyres, so I don't know what he's doing here. It seems like a very risky strategy to say you're in a championship fight. If I was him, I'd rather cover off Sebastian Vettel, basically, and just mimic his strategy there, but I don't know, maybe he's trying a very bonkers one-stop onto hard tyres, I'm not too sure, but he's still going on 6 laps longer than I managed on soft, so I didn't know the Mercedes tyre wear was that great. Maybe in the post-patch era it is, I'm not too sure, but it takes a lot longer than I thought it would. All the way on to lap number 13 for Valtteri Bottas to finally come in, so only now are we up into 3rd place once again, but we have Leclerc bearing down on us very, very soon. And so with that, we cut onto the back straight. He's well within DRS. We're not going to make things as easy, though, for him as we did in Sao Paulo with both Ferrari cars. So we move to the left-hand side, try and break the toe, then move right and try and break it some more. But Leclerc brilliantly follows us and follows the slipstream there. So the new improved AI working a treat in F1 2019. He's made a dive bomb down the inside. We're on the inside though for the chicane. It leaves us the room, but we're a little bit compromised on the title line. But what we do have is DRS again on the second bite of the cherry. So here we go, DRS open. We're side by side, very close to the wall there as Leclerc and I jostle for position for P3 in this Grand Prix. He's gone the long way around though. He'll be the inside as we go through the next right and then left, still side by side somehow there. So I don't know how he's kept it in there, Leclerc has, but he has done, and we're still going at it now, side by side on the exit of that left-hander, and eventually he has to give it the place. We go through the double right, nearly just about flat out in qualifying there. Little lift off for us there, just make sure we give him the space on that nose cone of his, but we keep it through for now in P3. But as we move on to lap 14, I think, you know what, as much as I do want to keep fighting Leclerc, it probably makes more sense to let him through. He's on the fastest compound tyre, the soft tyre. He's in a Ferrari car. I'm probably going to lose way more time fighting him than I will kind of, you know, than letting him by, basically, because he can just do his thing, and I'm pretty thankful for that, because on lap 16, you know, he just waltzes off into the distance, basically, and Russell is the one now closing up on us there. So this is the fight we really need to be in terms of, you know, actually, you know, staying in this fight of keeping ahead of Russell, because I believe we should be able to race and beat Russell today. But the interesting kind of spanner in the works will be Valtteri Bottas. You can see there is behind Russell, so Bottas has been very slow in this second stint so far, ever since he got caught up in the traffic. The good thing for him, though, is I believe Lewis Hamilton is leading the Grand Prix now. Vettel's no longer in the race lead. So with Vettel only getting second place, that's 18 points, of course. So Bottas doesn't necessarily need to get all the way up the order to match him in terms of staying ahead in the championship, because there's a 11-point gap. So with Vettel only getting 18 points, that makes Bottas' job a lot easier. But eventually we move on to our second pit stop then of the afternoon. Stayed ahead of Russell, though, which is very, very good for me. But unfortunately having to double stack with Kimi, because Kimi comes at the same lap as myself. So that's a bit unfortunate, because Raikkonen was very much in that race with me then, but now I'm pretty much pushed him out of it because of that double stack. But obviously that wasn't intentional, but unfortunately you can never tell your AI teammates to go one more lap. Unfortunately, it definitely needs to be a feature. I've been saying now for 2 years so far, but alas, that's just the way things go. So now we move out into P14 on lap number 19, closing up to Magnussen now, and we should be able to overtake him, and then we've got a lot of clean air to use here. So as we go through the apex of that hairpin, we're going to line up this pass with from none all the way to hot lap mode in the ERS, DRS available to us as well as the fact that we are in rich mix there. So here we go, we're going to go down to lean though to save some fuel and go to high on ERS. So very much using the fact we've got the overspeed with DRS to save where we can with this car, as I think there will be a fight towards the end of this Grand Prix. At the moment, Weber up in P13, he's the man we're chasing down with a bit of a gap there. He's on medium tyres. I'm not too sure if he's yet to pit or not yet for a second time now. What I do know is the likes of Perez, Gasly and Butler are pitting, and so we're going to be up into P9 of this Grand Prix then eventually. And on lap 22, we're going to get some more free positions. Albon, Norris into the pit lane, and so we're up into P7. But with only 6 laps to go now, I believe this is where we legit are now on track in P7, because Lewis Hamilton is the one that leads this Grand Prix, like I mentioned there, in that very dominant Mercedes car. Vettel doing a great job though in second place, doing all he can for his championship there, trying to gain those 11 points he needs to be crowned the drivers' champion. Leclerc in third place, so Ferrari doing a good job with a double podium, trying to overtake Mercedes there, but with Hamilton first, I think it might be a bit futile. Then you've got Max Verstappen in fourth place, Bottas is in P5, and then you've got Weber in P6, myself P7. Now, Bottas is on a set of mediums. Remember, he went very long, 13 laps on soft tyres. Now he's on that medium tyre he pit onto. I think he's trying a very, very audacious one-stop in this race from soft to medium, which I thought at the time was bonkers. But if you think about it, the amount of time he lost in the traffic in the second stint, at the very start of the second stint, and the end of the first stint, it's actually a genius strategy to get him back into play. Because if he had to pit again, he would probably be out of the positions he needs to keep the lead in the championship. So I take it back. It's a stroke of genius from Valtteri Bottas to stay on that medium tyre. As we move on to lap 27, though, we do catch up to Weber and Bottas. Obviously, Bottas got a lot of tyre wear. I don't know what Weber's done. He's done some sort of madness in clean air to jump me as well, so kudos to him. But we will eventually catch him here, and we will have the straight line speed to overtake him with DRS as well on the second last lap of the Grand Prix. So we're up into P6 in this Grand Prix. Bottas, though, there in P5, doing the job he needs to do. You know, a bit of an Alan Prost moment. You know, the Finns like to keep it cool as well, so I don't know, he's taking a leaf out of his book, but just doing, you know, the bare minimum he needs to win the Drivers' Championship. And even if I overtake him now on this remaining 1.5 laps, he's still going to be crowned the champion, because even in P7, he's done enough to just about win the championship over Sebastian Vettel, because it makes a huge difference the fact that Vettel is no longer in first place, he's in second. So that gives Bottas, 7 points breathing room basically in terms of that he can play around with, and that's, you know, perfect for him now. So as we move on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, we're right up the gearbox of Bottas. He's clearly got a lot of tyre wear in the car. I'm not shocked, because he's been on these tyres since lap 13, and generally speaking, I don't think a one-stop was ever on the car to most people, but needs must when you're in a championship fight of course, and like I said, it is a stroke of genius actually in the end to do this kind of strategy. But anyways, away from that, of course, I'm going to try and overtake him because it's going to be from P6 to P5, so just a better race position to finish off this season. It would have been a bit more tense maybe if I knew this was going to be affecting the championship, but it does not, because I go around the outside, he's P6, and he's still going to be on for the championship win. Now, the only thing that would change is if Weber goes and overtakes him. If Weber overtakes Bottas somehow, then things would change, because then Bottas would lose the championship. But Bottas goes around the outside of myself because we let him through on purpose, because I know I'm going to get the activation point here there of DRS, because I thought, you know, hang on, I've just overtaken him. He's just going to get me back, because that Mercedes engine's only got better a little bit since the patch, actually, because of the drag as well. That Mercedes have got the lack of drag. And so I just thought I'd kind of play a Wily or Fox game there and get the DRS on purpose now down the back straight to re-overtake him for P5. But, I mean, like I said, I was about to mention Weber there. You know, he's right up the gearbox of Bottas. If he was to overtake him, that would hand the championship to Sebastian Vettel, but I highly doubt a Williams car is going to go and overtake a Mercedes car in terms of, I'm sure Weber could maybe do it, but I don't think Weber would do it, obviously being a kind of effectively, obviously, kind of at the wrath of Mercedes, having a customer engine supply kind of relationship there, so we go defensive against Bottas. So Bottas, despite having that tyre wear, doesn't actually try and re-overtake me for P5, but we're going to maintain that. But Lewis Hamilton has gone out and won the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and might have just sealed the constructors for the silver arrows as well, because I believe the double podium for Ferrari is not enough if Hamilton gets first there, and with Bottas P6, I think that's just about enough points for Mercedes to get the win of this first season of F1 2019 career mode. But we're going to come through the last few corners. Sebastian Vettel's tried his hardest. It's a noble effort from Vettel in second place there in the last few rounds, but Valtteri Bottas is going to be the one that gets crowned the Drivers' Champion, but we're going to come home in a very solid P5 to end out Season 1.
We've had a very strong season this year, very strong indeed. Well done, and thank you on behalf of the team for a fantastic effort.
It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Right, so there we have it, the full race results then. Sebastian Vettel second place, Bottas comes home in P6, and that is going to mean a 1 point difference in the Drivers' Championship. I'm used to the Drivers' Championship going down to the wire, having 1 point in it between myself and other AI cars, but to see the fact that 2 AI cars have had a championship battle that's ended with 1 point difference, absolutely amazing. Hamilton's only 12 points off as well. It was a very, very close first season here between Ferrari and Mercedes, and especially Vettel and Bottas there, but I say Ferrari and Mercedes because the constructors was also pretty damn close actually, only 8 points in it between Ferrari and Merc, so very good to see, and hopefully next season will be even closer, because I'm hoping that I can maybe join in the fight. Obviously it's been a very good solid first season for us. We end up in P6 in the Drivers' Championship ahead of Pierre Gasly there, so that's very, very good. Raikkonen comes in P8, so it's a very strong season for both us Alpha cars, but of course I've done a lot more points than Raikkonen, be a little bit more consistent than the Raikkonen in the first half of the season. Raikkonen sort of woke up in the second half and started getting some really, really great results. And of course, Kimi's the only one of the team that's managed to get a podium here. So I think it's the first time in a long while that I've actually not managed to get some sort of podium, even like a fluky podium in the first season. So definitely showing that the game is a little bit harder, and the AI definitely are, the top AI cars, a lot harder to actually fight with those top 3 teams here. So I'm really begging that next season we're in an opportunity maybe to be in that kind of fight. And yeah, just a very solid end to this season. 500 extra R&D points as well for getting a contract objective, so that will maybe come in handy from the winter period, from the end of this episode into the start of Season 2, in terms of the upgrades you purchase instantly get done for the Australian Grand Prix over the winter break, so some more money to play with essentially for the R&D tree. At this stage, who knows what I'll be doing, but let's just see how it goes.
Nice job this season. You've been performing well, and that's putting us in a strong negotiating position contract-wise. Plus, my 10%'s getting more valuable. So enjoy your break, and keep up the good work next year.
Right, so Claire's pretty happy with me and thinks I've done a great job and is confident for the next season in terms of what we can get for the contract. And I need to see what kind of contract we can get here because I want the best contract available from Alfa Romeo Racing. I said it for a few episodes now. I wasn't really sure if I was going to stay in Alfa Romeo Racing for Season 2 because, you know, I'm not too sure if they can give me a car that can fight for the championship next season. And that's what I want. I want a car that can fight for the championship this next season, Season 2. But I'm going to go for the max contract ever. Level 3 on everything. The easy team goal. First driver perk as well. Obviously, we're going to have to jiggle around the qualifying and race position mark, but I think we can comfortably get P7 in quali and aim for P5 in the races like we've done so far. So negotiation was successful. I've got the best contract I could ever possibly get from any team from Alfa Romeo Racing. But that's not really enough now because we've signed the contract, so I will be with Alfa Romeo Racing for the start of Season 2. But emphasis on the start of Season 2 because I'm going to go ahead and purchase 3 engine upgrades because we're a little bit down on engine power and in general engine, you know, development there compared to Mercedes who are really waltzed ahead. I think the engine side of things is very powerful in the F1 2019 game for sure, so I'm going to delve into that and also go for that ultimate chassis upgrade there. That's going to be very tasty indeed when it comes in for next episode at the Australian Grand Prix. But yeah, I say the start of Season 2 because I'm going to say categorically here, if we are not fighting for podiums and if we have not achieved at least one podium by the time the next contract negotiation comes through at Season 2, I will strongly debate and strongly consider my options of moving to other teams that can offer me that outcome of fighting for podiums because I want to be there, but I'm just not confident we can be there at the start of the season. But we'll see how it goes. So effectively that will be 4 races for Alfa Romeo Racing to prove to me that they can give me a car to fight for podiums and then build on that and hopefully fight for a championship very, very soon rather than later. We've had a very consistent season overall. Obviously a few niggling mistakes here and there from myself trying to learn how the game's working, but I'm sure now going to Season 2 I can take, you know, to the first few circuits a little bit more confidently, I think, and the end of the season's been mega consistent with 3 P5s in a row, so, you know, I'm going to be very selfish and demanding here and, you know, be very demanding of the team, so we'll see how it goes, but yeah, we are still with Alfa Romeo Racing for next season. We'll see what happens, though, going into that Season 2. Driver transfers for next season could be quite interesting. We've had rumours that Devin Butler has been sniffing around for an Alfa Romeo Racing drive, potentially, so could we see my F2 rival joining me alongside me? Maybe Kimi getting booted out or moving somewhere. We'll have to see. And what's going to happen with the rest of the grid, I don't know. But you guys have to wait and see and tune in for Season 2 at the beginning of the Australian Grand Prix. But guys, if you did enjoy this episode, nay, the entire first season of this F1 2019 career, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're on your own here to subscribe for weekly Formula content, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.